I always pictured I would be one of the greatest. Become every sense of the word and stun on those who hate it. Something that I was given my parents that couldn't take it. Resilient to every stone that was cast, I demonstrated. Every stone I put in bracelets. Beauty underrated. Was told to believe if you're not a scholar, get it.
Welcome to the Rob and Rob for Life podcast. I'm your host, Rob Bruin, along with my co-host, Rob McLean. What's going on, brother? How are you?
What it do?
This guy.
I'm so excited for this guest. Her hard work is just, her work ethic is just crazy.
Yeah, no, we're definitely here in the building today to pay homage to one of the Black queens that's killing it right now, Tykera Carter. She's a sports journalist and retired basketball player right now. She's a podcast host for Checking In with Tykera Carter. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
We're good, man.
Going on.
Thanks for coming in and checking in with us.
Well, thank you for having me check in.
Yo, so this is what we're gonna do. I need you to just this to me personally. I need you to break down the DMV for me.
Break down the DMV.
Yeah, just real quick.
Like geography or what we're about.
Like DC, because DC is not a city exactly, but then it's
well, DC is the District of Columbia.
Right.
So, I mean, DC is like first of all, the DMV is all separate. It's DC, it's Maryland, and it's Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say Maryland, most people are just like, it's just PG County. It's not all of Maryland because Maryland is huge. Like, so they're like, it's not like Charles County and like all these other different places. So, I guess you can leave it up into interpretation or who you speak to as to which parts of these different counties are actually a part of the DMV. Like, I think everybody agrees and we know that like the 757, like Norfolk and like Hampton and all that stuff, just because they're Virginia, they're not a part of the DMV because they're like Southern, like Northern Virginia is like Alexandria and Arlington and stuff like that. As far as DC is like right next to Arlington and Alexandria. And then like if you take like kind of like a bridge, like 295, you're in Maryland. So it kind of is all like a little circle.
Okay, I got you.
And you're from Alexandria, Virginia, right?
Yeah.
And you had a great high school career there, specifically your senior year. Alexandria Player of the Year, All-State. We could go on and on with the accolades, but how has your senior year specifically, how has that gotten you ready for the Sacred Heart?
I think when I went to TC Williams in Alexandria, so I guess I'll break that down. That is Remember the Titans, Everybody knows that movie. So that's the school that I went to. When people don't know, that's what I say. I'd be like, Remember the Titans. They'd be like, oh. And I'd be like, yeah. So I was challenged to be a leader when I was there. Like Coach Keisha Walton was my head coach. And I think she is still at Bishop Ireton, which is in the WCAC conference. It was a huge conference in the DMV. But she really challenged me to be more than just a scorer, more than just a basketball player, but to be a vocal leader and to be someone who could be looked up to. And I strived to do that on and off the court as far as like, let my play speak for itself, but also be an academic threat and also be this vocal leader where if I knew people was messing up, like I'm going to get on you, and to not just worry about individual accolades, but let's win. And so, our season didn't go as planned. We lost in the second round of regionals. So that was like one game before states, I believe, one or two. So that was unfortunate. But what I learned along the way is like, I bought into the fact that I would do anything for my team to win because I wanted to be a winner. And I thought that was important going forward into college.
Yeah, I noticed also too from your stats, like you drastically shot up in your stats in terms of your senior year. What was really the shift or the difference from you, especially from an offensive standpoint?
So, I mean, I guess I'll do my full backstory. I went to 3 different high schools. So my freshman and sophomore year, I went to Brook Point High School, which is in Stafford, Virginia, and I was absolutely killing. Like, so TC, I would say my game was more mature because I was around other pieces as well. But when I went to Brookpoint High School, I was like the only player on my team, and I was dropping almost like 20, 25 a night. Like my career high when I was at Brookpoint High School was 40.
So you were getting busy.
Yeah, so I ended up leaving and getting away from that school in hopes of getting more competition, which most student athletes do. And I went to Riverdale Baptist, which is in Maryland. And Riverdale Baptist was a shift for me because I was playing a national schedule. So I go from playing against all local Virginia teams, public school competition, and then I went to Riverdale Baptist where we were playing a national schedule. I played with Shania Ray. I don't know if you guys know her or not, but she went to Florida State, West Virginia. I played with Chloe Jackson. Like, that was my teammate, and she won the national championship with Baylor. And that's just to name a few. I played with a lot of remarkable people. So I came off the bench playing at Riverdale, and that was an adjustment for me because I went from, dropping like however many a game to learning how to be a role player and giving it my all and taking care of my minutes and stuff like that, which I don't regret at all because, again, I learned a different aspect of the game. And then when I had left Riverdale and went to TC Williams my senior year, I knew that there was kind of nothing I couldn't do because I was in these different roles and predicaments. I went from score to learning, okay, like different defensive concepts will get me this. And then I'll never say I wasn't a hustler because I always played hard, but there were certain things that I took from Riverdale that I probably wouldn't have learned at Brookpoint because we were playing a national schedule. At one point we were ranked like number 2 in the country. So you just continue to learn and grow as a basketball player. I think those are the things that are kind of like intangibles when you play the sport of basketball. Like if you play for a while or you go to different programs and systems, like you'll grow if you buy in.
Yeah, I definitely like how you took different pieces from different places to reshape your game. Speaking of your time at Sacred Heart, what was your favorite moment there? It could be on or off the court.
I think my favorite moment is when I hit a game winner against St. Francis Brooklyn.
It was like, right?
Huh?
That was an overtime, right?
Yeah, it was like it wasn't double overtime. It was a close game, but it was like, and I'll be fully transparent about my career. Like my career at Sacred Heart was like very up and down, and like I'm cool with that. I was very blessed to have like the college experience. I was a starter. I was a bench player. I was like the bench player at the end of the bench before. Like, I played in different roles throughout college, and I'm not ashamed of that. And so for me to like come into my own and hit this huge shot, and I hit a couple for the minutes that I played and stuff like that. At times, like I actually made a big impact, but I mean, I'm just saying I really did. But when I hit that huge shot, I'm like, dang, I played like 14 minutes that game. I had like 14 points in like 14 minutes. It was like something wild like that. So I hit the like game winning 3, and I also like got a steal at the end. That like after I got the steal, like they had to foul me, and then I like really put the game out of reach by knocking down like 2 huge free throws at the end too.
I remember your career high was actually off the bench against St. Francis. You had like 16 points, shooting 50%. I'm surprised you didn't pick that.
Yeah, that might have been my junior year because my career high was like 20 or 22.
That was the junior year?
That was against Bryant, and that was my career high, and I got that my senior year. But my junior year, it was probably that 16 points that I got off the bench. Yeah, I mean, for the streaky minutes that I like used to play and stuff like that, like
were you a silent killer?
I finished with 600, like almost 700 points, and like I didn't play like all of my freshman year almost. Like I was like a bench right. So it's like, okay, you can say basically I played like half of 3 years because like the beginning of my sophomore year I was still trying to get up off the sidelines too. So for me to finish with like 600 points, like half of 1,000, like
that's crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I wouldn't say I was a silent killer. Like I knew that what I was capable of, but I was playing in a system that just I had to get used to. I didn't, know anything about it. I wouldn't say that it wasn't for me, because once I understood it, it was like, I'm capable of doing it, but I was used to like being shifty and just being like, going all out. So going into a system that was a little different for me, and like that learning curve of when you leave from high school to playing college basketball, that adjustment was a little hard for me from, uh, being a man to like having to start back down here. So I guess you can say once I got over that, like I was cool because I always hustled. Like there would be games where I would have like 5 steals and stuff like that. Like, so I thrived off of like defense energy, playing in the full court when I can. So I didn't have to set up the offense, and
Mm-hmm.
just play it that way.
You're still part of the game now, just on the media side. Do you have any challenges at first being a former player to now covering the game?
I wouldn't say that I had any challenges. I think a challenge that doesn't necessarily have to do with transitioning is an understanding thing that I didn't get was networking. So I would say I didn't understand the importance of networking, using your connections and stuff like that, because I was never taught that. I was taught like, you got to get it on your own, which is true. Like you do in a sense, but you get it on your own in the right way. Like you got to hit people where their pockets hurt in the right manner. And but I didn't know any of these things. So when I first graduated, which was the fall of 2018, I was just kind of like, okay, so dang, people make it seem like it's easy to get a job. And I didn't understand like how some people were when, and it's not to knock other people's talent, but it's like, I believe that I am as talented or could be just as talented as this individual, but how do I take strides or steps towards getting in that space? And I didn't know anything about that until I started kind of just reaching out to people.
Yeah, definitely. Timing is definitely everything, especially when you're trying to get a job.
Yeah, I think also too, networking is very, very essential, like you were saying, because knowing the right person is the difference between me and you, right? Our resume may be the same, but you have the call. I'm filling out the application. You already have the job.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? So that's really the big difference. And how exciting was it for you to cover the Washington Mystics, when they got their chip? And how was it covering the Wizards as well?
So it was cool. Freelancing for DMVSports1.com. That was like my first experience. Like that was my first time ever going to like media day and all this other stuff. So mind you, I'm growing. Like I grow every single time I feel like I go in front of the camera, or I do some type of blog post. Like I look at it as an experience, as growth. Like I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So it was really, really cool to see how people act in a professional environments, and to like, okay, I can't be starstruck when I see like Bradley Beal walking by. Like I gotta be like, oh, that's just Bradley Beal. Like he's a human and I'm a person trying to do a job. And once you kind of get over that, the experience is top notch.
What has been like your favorite person so far that you have interviewed?
I would say Natasha Cloud for the Washington Mystics. She's so very down to earth, and when you speak to her and you see her in person, like she's nice. Like she's like, a person. And like sometimes I think we kind of forget that athletes are people too, and it can kind of like catch you off guard when like they are super friendly and stuff like that, and you kind of put a stigma on them to be a certain way. But she is everything of a nice individual and so personable.
What's an eye-opening moment that you've had so far within your career where it might have been a moment of like adversity or a moment where you messed up, just a moment that was really helped you shift and like move into gears, just like, all right, I really need to lock in now?
I think a moment was looking back at like one of my old reels and seeing like how much I've grown. And I'm like, dang, like, like little things like I used to, and I still do it a little bit, but like I got it in check a little bit more. Like look off to the side a little bit, like when I'm talking to someone, and it's like, Why did I do that? Or doing little things like rocking back and forth when I'm like talking. And then now I'm like more personable. I feel more comfortable. And it's like that feeling of knowing that you're more comfortable makes
Confidence.
all the difference in your delivery. And so it's not to say that I'm the best yet, but seeing that growth has been great for me from like that first reel I ever made where I didn't know what I was doing to now I have like a more polished and seasoned reel, and I have more content for it now as well.
That's dope.
Yeah, and you're part of the Winning Edge Leadership Academy.
Mhm.
Can you explain what that organization is for those who don't know?
So Maria Taylor started it along with her co-founder Kareen, and they're awesome. And so basically I am a let me say this correctly, cohort member. Ooh.
Yeah, cohort.
Yeah.
No.
And so we were selected to go to an entertainment and career summit in LA, and it's catered to current and former student athletes, specifically African Americans. So that's huge, having a space for African Americans who not only want to be journalists, but if you want to be sports agents, marketing, and all these other things, like they give you a space. So with them, we learned about interview tips, and that's how I felt more comfortable with interviews. We learned about sending like follow-up emails after you interview. I knew nothing about that. Like, what I mean? Or like have a on-hand thank you letter after you finish an interview with someone. We learned like proper etiquette with shaking hands, like, just keys to life that sometimes, like I like to say, I don't think I might have learned that unless I was with it. So Kareen and Maria Taylor, they do a bomb job with that and making sure they reach out. Like we get emails from them like it's often like, yeah. And then the other day, like I reached out to Maria Taylor like, hey, I know we all have some free time right now. Like, can I give you a call so we can catch up? And we just caught up. Like, she talked to me, asked me how I've been. She's like, oh, yeah, shoot me your stuff so I can check it out. Like, if I don't reply, send me a follow-up email so I can see it. And so for them to be very down to earth and transparent and, like, want to keep up with us and not just have it for show on Instagram and Twitter and act like they're doing something, they actually are making an impact.
Yeah,
So what do you say that?
Taylor's super dope too. I got a chance.
Yeah.
I got a chance to work with her when she came up to Syracuse as well too.
Yeah.
Super genuine person, bro. Definitely.
Yes, exactly.
Shout out to her for real. She's killing it.
So what do you say that you have a close relationship with both of them?
Close, like I can call you at any time. Close, no. But I would say that if I wanted to reach out, like there's been times that Kareen has reached out to me just to be like, hey, I saw that you're doing a new series called Checking In. We didn't know that you were starting a podcast, but we are here for you to help expand your platform. So next time, like you start something and you need some help or whatever, let us know. And that meant everything to me, even though like I know like I was capable of getting it off the ground on my own, and which I have, and I did. But for her to acknowledge it, to see it, to retweet it and stuff like that, I would say that that relationship is genuine in a sense where they really are checking on their former cohort members.
That's cool. That's cool.
Well, I'll say current because it's not former, so current. Whatever way you want to put it.
So I have to ask you something. Word on the street is you're a UNC fan.
I'm a huge UNC fan.
Uh-oh, here we go.
And that's what's up.
You must be a Duke fan the way you coming at me.
No.
I'm about to say
even that.
Like, I can see it in her face. I want to talk to you about two things that happened this year. What happened? Obviously, I mean, you guys won in Syracuse when they came out to the Dome. But what happened when they counted in Greensville at the ACC tournament?
Are you talking about
when they played the ACC tournament this year?
I'm trying to think back. I don't want to think about what happened at the ACC.
You don't remember what happened?
No, Syracuse won, correct?
Yeah.
By a lot.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to remember. I remember I was watching a game and I just kind of shut my laptop. I was like, see you next season. This is ridiculous. I was blown. Yeah, okay. I was trying to think about that. I was like, yeah, we lost pretty bad to Syracuse. It was a rough season, y'all, but I'm still.
What?
But just know I'm not a bandwagon fan. Like I'm
Yeah,
still.
you gotta stay there.
Admittedly, it was rough, but yeah.
If Cole Anthony never got hurt, you guys would have.
I
Definitely
believe
better.
so too. They were on a good roll. It was like
He
Cole
missed
Anthony,
11
then
games.
Baycott gets hurt. I'm like, well, shutting the whole team then. Like, Jesus, he was on a roll early.
Yeah. How excited were you when they got Cole Anthony? Did you really feel like he was going to be that difference maker, or you felt like he had to prove himself?
I mean, I did because of course the hype. We like, ooh, it's Cole Anthony. Like he was high on the radar. So of course when you get that player, you're just automatically excited. And he did live up to the hype. But like we said, staying healthy
Yeah.
was a
Injury is
key
so
factor. Yeah.
Mhm.
Me and Rob was talking about that cover art from Life After, that podcast. The cover art is crazy. I liked it right away as soon as you dropped it. Rob likes it too. My favorite episode was probably the one with your former teammate, Chloe Palazzo.
Okay,
That's
that's
her last name, right?
Palazzo.
Yeah. You guys talked about how she traveled right after school instead of finding a job right away. Well, everything that's going on in this world with the protesting, traveling being on hold, how you taking time to enjoy your life besides working on your projects?
I think just disconnecting a little bit more, like taking time to like sit back and reflect because there's not much more to do. And sometimes with the hustle and bustle of like trying to get in and trying to be a journalist, like I'm ripping and running all of the time. And now it's like I just been getting able to like sit back and like, I can watch movies with like my parents and stuff like that. My mom has been like teaching me how to like make a meal like once a week, supposed to be once a week, but we a little behind. But anyway, just the fact of the matter is like spending quality time with family that if the pandemic would have happened, we would have probably, never gotten because my mom does work from she out in Alexandria or whatever. So my mom's in the office usually from like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So now she's working from home and like I can go and sit downstairs with her while she's working sometimes or just pop outside and talk to my dad like on the balcony. So it's just the little things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
The one thing that I like that you kind of stopped with that podcast, you used to give a quote at the end with the guests, depending on the episode. I don't know why you stopped that.
Yeah, so I got away from it honestly just because I forgot. Like, and I'm about to do an episode tomorrow, and I like wrote it down in bold, like do the quote. And yeah, it's honestly because when I get into something, sometimes I'm like I said, I'm like all over the place, right? Like, it's kind of like thinking you replied to a text when you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I just forgot to write it in my script. So I do want to get back to that because I really do enjoy quotes and stuff like that and inspirational. Like I have a quote back here. It's about keeping my room clean. It's not necessarily deep or anything like that, but like, yeah, I love quotes. So I do need to get back on that wave. Thank you for the reminder.
And we know that you have a lot of quotes. What's your favorite one that you use just to go through tough times and through life?
I'm trying to think because I do have so many.
Tons.
I have no. So can I say two?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay, so tough times don't last, tough people do. I really like that quote because it does show that things do come to full circle. Like it might be a season where it's a little harder, but if you push and you have perseverance, like you'll last. And then she believed she could, so she did. And, just having belief in yourself and what you put out there into the world, the atmosphere, your progress, whatever.
Yeah, I think quotes are real important too because it's like those moments that when you're down, you just kind of just need something really to just you just need something to push you forward. I'm a big quote guy too. I definitely agree with you on that. With everything that's going on with the protests, especially like relating to yesterday, like
it was crazy.
watching CNN and seeing like 6 different cities on fire damn near. Like, how does that really make you feel? Because I tuned into your IG live earlier this week, and you were talking about it. How has just really just like impacted you as you're just seeing what's going on?
It's hurtful. And like, I know a lot of people are saying like, if you're silent, like, you know, I can't mess with you. But I feel like seeing just sadness after sadness after sadness, like, I'm like, you know, I kind of just need a disconnect. Like, I'm done scrolling, because it makes me genuinely sad to like see like some of the posts. And I know that's the point that people are trying to get across, like, you know, like, see it, feel sad, like, be upset.
But it's
But
overwhelming.
yeah,
And it's
you know,
everywhere.
it's overwhelming. And it got to the point one day where I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna get off IG. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna get off Twitter. And you know, I wrote on my Snapchat something that some people may feel is controversial or whatever. And I was just like, if you are silent right now, I'm not necessarily mad, because I'm going to speak out because I believe in it. But if you don't really believe in the cause, like, don't feel bullied into posting something because somebody told you to, if you're of, you know, white descent, or if you're not African American, or if you just don't want to post, period. And what I mean by bullied is like, if it's not coming from the heart, if you can't sympathize really, if you don't have empathy, if you're just posting to make yourself look cool, or to say like, I did it because my African American friend told me to, then don't do it. And you know, somebody was like, I mean, I get what you're saying, but, and I was like, it's no but. Like, as African Americans, we get enough fake love as it is. Like, you know, I just much rather would have the real. And like, you know, when real recognize real, you can distinguish the real from the fake. So, like, by all means, if it's not your thing to do, maybe you are being an activist in a different way. Or maybe, you know, you like, I'm gonna save this for the politicians, which is a huge thing. And it's not to say that we downplay social media, but I'm like, you know, post when you have education on it and you have an understanding of it. But if you're just posting because the next man is, and you don't really feel it, I'd rather not, you know, see it.
Yeah, it's not authentic. I agree
Yeah.
100% on that. It really is just a lot. And I think it's a really sad time, because as I'm watching the TV yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, well, in my opinion, we only have about 2 more days of this. And as soon as I said that, meaning that it's going to be a matter of time before they pull the guns out and they start shooting people, because the cops are not going to keep taking these L's. They're not going to keep getting beat, hit, kicked on, and all of that, because they control. They have the power. You know, so to see all of the big vehicles coming down the street, everybody with their SWAT gear coming on, the mask and everything, it's just
Yeah.
like, no.
Hmm.
They're shooting into people's houses, telling them to walk, stay inside. And it's like, yo, bro, I'm standing on my front steps. You can't tell me to go inside. But
Yeah.
Bringing little kids too.
it's bad. But to be honest, I think we should all just be careful. You know, just be very careful, because it's going to come a point in time where they're going to use the muscle to do what they want to do. And I don't think we're going to have enough to retaliate against them. And I would hate to see what would happen if it really came to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, one
I
of my
thought,
biggest things is like, when this is all said and done, like, I think we let stuff be a trend, just like anything in the world, and it blows
Very
over. You know what I mean? Don't let this be a thing where we're, like I said, once again, telling people to post, forcing people to post. But then when it's not convenient, or when it doesn't look cool anymore, or when it's not the trending topic, because yes, it's not to say that murders blow over. No, they don't. What happened was absolutely wrong, devastating. But keep the conversation going. If like, this is what it's going to be, let's not be outraged for 2 weeks, or doing all this posting and rapping for 2 weeks, or, you know, a couple days, and then crickets, like, we don't hear about it anymore. That's the thing that sometimes frustrates me, because, you know, we get in an uproar about things, and then after that it's like, okay, and then what? Like, what was all this for? How do we make progress from here? Like, what, you know, what is the bigger picture in all of this to help us get that justice in which everybody is so desperately seeking and wanting for, you know, African Americans?
yeah, speaking of progress, the one thing I saw on Twitter today when I checked this morning that you didn't really see on TV, there are cops with the protesters on their side. And I just hate how, like, some media outlets, they don't show that side to the story.
I mean, we're journalists, right? Like, I think a lot of media is like, you said, the story, like, what picture do I want to paint to make air? And it's kind of as simple as that, but they're doing their job too. So it's like, you know, you got to feel for the reporter side of things, because it's like, what angle do I have to take to get this story out and make it what it has to be to fit on TV? So everything isn't, I think, trying to paint things in a negative light. If you know journalism, like sometimes like you write your script, you write your story, and this is how you have to go about getting it out there. You know, and that's just kind of like journalism 101. So is it necessarily the best? No, but it kind of depends on who is covering it for that day, I would say.
Me and Rob was listening to your podcast, the one thing that we agreed on is that the guest, you always have a guest with amazing story. What's your process like just choosing the guest? Because we all know, like, the big part about interviewing somebody is their story and who they are. So what's your process is like selecting the right person?
So sometimes I'll send out a tweet, be like, hey, I'm trying to do an episode on such and such. If you know anybody, like, kind of send them my way. Or when I think of a topic, like, I'll go through my Instagram and be like, oh, this person might be the perfect fit for this. Or this individual sounds like they might have some input that I might not necessarily understand. So therefore, they'll be a great guest for me to learn something as well. And so typically I just go on IG, shoot people emails, and, you know, do the whole networking thing and reach out. I've actually talked to people for the first time, like, on my podcast. So everybody I don't necessarily know, and just be like, hey, like, a couple of the people, I think like 3 of the people, I like genuinely know so far. It might be more, but then like one time, one of the guests, Angela, like, she reached out to me because she liked my podcast, and she was like, I think I can bring something to the table, and I would like to be on your podcast because I talk about this, and I have a book that talks about life after playing basketball and stuff like that, and I help educate young ladies on it. And so that was huge, because I was like, okay, I'm reaching somebody because she took the time to email me to ask me, could she come on so she can promote her platform as well. So that was great.
That's super.
That's crazy.
Well, I'd have to say we appreciate you for coming in and, you know, checking in with us. It was great to have you here. You're actually one of the first Black queens that we had on here so far, so this is super dope.
The first.
Yeah, the first. Before we leave, we have to give you your toast.
Okay.
For everything that you've done, more life, more progression, you know, Black excellence.
Thank you. We'll cheers. Boo.
Definitely. And that's a wrap, guys. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. The Rob and Rob for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
For life.
I'm bored like you in the league, only way that people paying. I started believing that I was one that wouldn't make it. That gave me more reason to question pictures people painted. I stopped giving a fuck.